Welcome to the Chuck Shoot Podcast. I got Mark Normand on the show today. Hilarious comedian. I can't believe he's doing my little show, but he did it. It happened. If you don't know who Mark Normand is, you probably should know because he's one of the best comedians out there. Even Jerry Seinfeld singled him out as one of the best up-and-coming comedians. He got to open for Seinfeld. He's been on Joe Rogan a couple times. He's done all the late-night stuff, and he has his own special on YouTube now. It's called Out to Lunch. And he has a great podcast of his own called Tuesdays with Stories. I highly recommend checking out his stand-up either on YouTube or Instagram. That's how I found him. He's got like close to 250,000 followers on Instagram. And definitely see him if he comes to your town once it's safe to perform again. But this interview, so fun. He makes you laugh, but he also makes you think. He's a smart guy. He's actually a very brilliant comic in my opinion, and I'm honored to have him on my show. So check it out. Okay, welcome to the show. Mark Normand, this is amazing. I why'd you say yes to this? I mean, I'm not mad, but I'm like surprised in a good way.
No idea. Gotta start saying no. What am I doing with my life?
This could be a great career move, though. I'm telling this show could be huge in like 5 years, and I won't forget you.
This will move the needle, I'm sure.
Yeah, you'll help me big time. How are you holding up with this pandemic? Because do you like the lockdown because you're kind of more of an introvert, so now you have an excuse to avoid people, right?
I was good at avoiding. I was better at avoiding before. I hate the lockdown. I want to go outside. I want to go to shows. I want to go to a comedy club. I hate it. It sucks. I mean, what are we, 7 months in? It's brutal.
Yeah.
What kind of question is that? It sucks. It's horrible.
No, because for me, I was kind of like, ooh, now I get to like stay here. I get to do these podcast interviews on Zoom. And I mean, more comedians and musicians are available now. They're a lot more saying yes because they have more time.
Well, this is great for you. But I mean, my whole business is flying all over the country and doing sets in front of strangers in a small, dark, intimate room, spitting on people, yelling at people. People sitting shoulder to shoulder. And now that can't happen. So my whole passion and livelihood is bunked. Yeah, can you do any shows? Like Fahim, the comedian I follow, he's coming here in Phoenix, and they're doing some sort of socially distanced show. I mean, I hope it's going to be safe. I mean, they're following CDC guidelines. Or there's some shows happening in certain parts of the country, right? Yeah, he's a funny guy. I love Fahim, but it's just tough because all the things that you need to make a good comedy show are bad for health.
Mm-hmm.
Tight room, packed in,
right,
close, and then you can't have all that now, which I get because it's a pandemic. But we ever needed a joke more than right now? You know, we need to hear laughter and connect and all that. So it's this weird time where we need comedy a lot, I think, but you can't have comedy. So
definitely.
It's like saying, hey, you need more fiber, but fiber is illegal.
Totally. Well, so if we can, I just want to talk about your background. You have like a really interesting background that I didn't know. I mean, I just followed your comedy. I didn't really listen to like all the interviews until the last couple of days. I found out a lot about you. You grew up in New Orleans in like a dilapidated mansion that was like 8 blocks from the French Quarter, and you had a transgender nanny. At first, when I first heard this, I was like, oh, this is some bit he's doing. But I heard you say it in multiple interviews. So I was like, this must be true.
Oh, very true. Very true. Enos was his name. Big black guy in a wig and heels. And I grew up in a mansion. They made half of it a bed and breakfast because we were, running out of income and it needed a lot of work. And it was a kooky upbringing, but I was, 8 years old. So it was all normal to me. Yeah,
so Enos he was a black guy in a wig. Was he able to fool people? Like, did he look like a girl, or was it totally obvious that he was a transgender?
I'd say he was an ugly woman.
Okay.
It wouldn't fool me because, I knew him and I saw the wig off every now and then. But I guess if you had a few cocktails and it was dark enough, you could see some lady parts there.
Is it so? Then is this true that he later he was murdered because he was trying to hook up with some guy and the guy realized he was a transgender? Wow, that's interesting.
Transvestite, yeah.
That's interesting because I've seen your comedy for a while, and you do a lot of that stuff where you're like, you talk about like, I'm a big fan of the gays, and I was like, it's interesting that he like, not that I'm not a fan of the gays, but it's just interesting that you kept bringing that up, and then it's like, oh, now I get it. Like, given your background, that's why you're like, hey, look, maybe you shouldn't hate gay people or transgender, right?
Well, I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I think it's just, I don't know. If you look at gays and Asians and Jews, like gays move into a neighborhood and they fix it. Like they're pretty magical and they can't reproduce. So like if they want a kid, they have to adopt or whatever. So like, I think gays are good for the environment. As weird as that, they're green.
Yeah.
They fix things. They make things look better.
It's true.
They're in good shape mostly. So like, I'm a fan. All my gay friends are very successful, well dressed. Good manners. I'm not saying there's no psycho gays out there. Obviously, there's bad everything. But
yeah, sure.
Yeah, I just look at results. Like, look at Asians. They got great math scores. They can play the violin. They're low on crime. Big fan.
But isn't that racist to say that there's got to be some bad Asians too, right? That have bad grades and.
Of course, and I'm not saying they're all great. I'm saying the majority as a whole. Like it's like people go, "There's all these cops are evil." I'm like, well, not all evil,
right? Yeah.
They're people. It's just like every other group. There's some good, some bad.
Sure, absolutely. So going back to your upbringing, gosh, you had so many like embarrassing moments. Like, what are some of your favorite stories to tell about? Like,
millions. Yeah, I mean, I was a bedwetter. We got robbed a lot. I was the token white kid. Public school, you name it. I mean, it was braces, dandruff, the whole nine.
Yeah, like you shit yourself on a field trip in 3rd grade. Like, how did you have to change schools after that?
No, I wrote it out.
Did they call you Poopy Pants Mark or anything like that? Or
sure, but I was the guy who I made the joke before they could make it.
Oh, that's smart.
I shit myself in a park, and I had a huge just wad in my pants. It was like a giant bulge, and I had to ride the bus. And then I remember the bus driver went, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! Don't sit down yet." And he had to put newspaper on the seat. He's like, "You're not ruining my seats." And I had to wait for him to put down the one ads and the classifieds and the whole front page news, and I had to sit on that while we waited. So brutal.
So you were like kind of like the class clown, and you did theater. You said you were like a really bad actor, though.
Horrible. Yeah, I can't do drama. It's not me. Look at me. I can't be dramatic. Yeah, can you imagine me in like a sad scene where my dad dies and I have to cry? That's not gonna fly. Oh, Dad, come on. Yeah.
You could be the funny actor, right? Are you saying you still are not a good actor?
I can do funny, maybe. I can do comedy, but no drama.
No drama.
Doesn't fit.
Right. So your influences were Seinfeld, Carlin, Chris Rock. Those were the 3 big ones, and a little bit of Bill Murray and Norm Macdonald, you'd say?
Bill Murray, Norm, Groucho. I loved Damon Wayans when I was a kid. I was a huge Damon Wayans fan in Living Color. The Simpsons, old SNL, Marx Brothers movies, all that stuff.
Oh, gotcha.
Huge fan.
And then, but you
Three
were
Amigos, shitty 80s comedies. I love Dragnet and like Animal House and Caddyshack.
Yeah. I love all that stuff. That's great. And so, because originally you wanted to do film. In fact, you went to the New York Film Academy, right? And then you hated it. You realized you didn't want to do film. Were you going to be like a director or?
You're good. Yeah, I wanted to be Woody Allen. I love Asian chicks, and no, I just wanted to be a director and write and direct. And then you realize, like, oh, you got to work with these actors, and they're a nightmare. And then you got to get the gaffer and the grip and the lighting and all that. It was too much. It was too many. Film just, I feel like we're gonna grow out of that. Like, it's such a kind of antiquated art form with like this giant crew and all these trucks and all these big lights. Like, I feel like we could knock it out a lot easier now. We got iPhones and little cameras and digital and all this. So like, it's crazy to me. We still need all that, but I think we're going to move on from there eventually. Well,
isn't that what the pandemic is showing? That a lot of these stuff is just happening like this on Zoom right here. And people are doing it and it's getting millions of views and like Joe Rogan. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at him. Look at YouTube specials. And, my friend has a YouTube news show. He gets more views than the Tonight Show and he sees nobody.
Wow. That's my dream to be. I mean, I'm a nobody, but to get the millions of views, that's what I want to do. So, but yeah, going back to you. So, you attended the University of New Orleans, I didn't realize that's the same college that Ellen went to. You probably knew that, but
I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know that?
He never talks about New Orleans. He's very secretive, which is weird. You're like, hey, you're a huge celebrity. How about you represent us a little bit? But also, everybody hates her now, so maybe it's for the best.
Yeah, but so it was while in college. This is when you first started doing stand-up at a place called Lucy's Retired Surfer Bar. Tell me about that. Tell me about that.
You're good.
Oh, I think that's on Wikipedia. Yeah. I think that's all over the place.
Oh, is it?
I think so,
I didn't know
yeah.
I had a Wikipedia.
Oh, yeah. You're a big star. What are you talking about? Of course you got a Wikipedia.
This is all news to me. But yeah, Lucy's Bar was in the Warehouse District of New Orleans. And it was just I think it was every Tuesday night or Monday night. There was probably 40, 50 people in there. It was packed out. It was like a show. And you go there and you realize, oh, this is a whole nother world. Like there's all these comics who know each other, and there's like certain jargon about comedy and comedy talk and comedy get-togethers, and then you start realizing like I have more in common with these guys than my real friends. And then you start falling in love with it, and you're like, this is what I want to do. And you get excited about every Tuesday. You're writing like crazy on Monday night, and you're practicing in your room, and it just gave me a hobby. It gave me something to do and work towards, because I was such a booze bag and just a waste. And so, yeah, comedy kind of saved me and put me in a certain direction and changed my whole life.
Well, yeah, and you said that you moved to New York and that you bombed for a few, but you must have had some good nights. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't have kept doing it, right?
Not really. I mean, maybe a titter here and there, but if I dropped my beer and I made a joke about that might get a laugh. But my written stuff was death.
Really?
Oh,
and you just
yeah. Well, I didn't know what I was doing. I had to learn it.
So what kept you going then?
I had no backup plan, and I was having a blast. I was 22 years old, living in New York City, getting drunk and meeting people and riding the subway, and it was a different world back then. It was fun. No real iPhones or anything, so you were just kind of running rampant. You were a feral cat. Good times.
Yeah, so you moved there. You only had was it $400 or $800 in your pocket? I heard $800. That's all you had.
My rent was $400.
Oh, so and did you have the place lined up before you moved there, or you just found it when you got there?
No. My mom knew a lady who lived out here, and she said they can stay with me for a couple nights, but staying with somebody in New York it's a whole different ball game.
Right.
This ain't Cleveland where everybody's got here's a shed or my extra room or the guest room. There's none of that in Manhattan. So we just stayed in some lady's couch, me and a friend. And after like 2 or 3 nights, it got a little tense over there. She was kind of like, all right. And I was just scouring Craigslist, and I found a place, signed the lease on loose leaf. The landlord died of AIDS eventually. And I got mugged a few times in that neighborhood, but we made it work. God damn it.
Yeah, I mean, so tell me about those days, because you had some interesting jobs. Busboy, you moved furniture, you were an office assistant, you were a janitor. Like, I'm having a hard time picturing you doing any of those things. Like, were you funny in those roles, or were you like Serious Mark, or what? Tell me about that.
Well, I mean, I guess I was always cracking wise, but I was a janitor for 2 years, and that's just head down, mopping, earbuds in, cleaning the AC duct, hanging photos, putting paint on the walls, vacuuming, stuff like that. So I wasn't really interacting with people throughout the day. So it couldn't really be funny, but I was thinking of jokes the whole time.
Oh.
And then, busboy, moving furniture was the funnest, because it's you and a bunch of guys, out, shorts on, no boss, no office. So you're like, it was hell. I mean, you're moving a foldable couch up 3 stairs, and while you're on the 3rd flight, it's just bang, the fucking mattress shoots out like a boxing glove in the 80s.
Right.
And so that was tough, but yeah, we were always having fun.
So you just kept doing that because you were doing the comedy at night then, I'm assuming, right? Did you really do 4 to 5 open mics a night?
Sure, I did 4 shows last night.
Wow. Because you can do that in New York. There's just enough places where you can run around and...
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, there were so many open mics back in the day, and just ride from one to another. And it was fun. That's what you did. Like, otherwise I'm sitting at a bar, just, staring into a glass. So, it was something to do.
Nice. So how many nights a week, or how many nights did you do it? So 4 to 5 open mics a night. And then how many nights per week?
I mean, every night, that was it. I never took a night off. I missed a lot of weddings. I'd miss holidays.
Wow.
And like your friends are doing mics too, and they're getting good, so you're kind of competing, but in a fun way. And you text like, oh, I know another one on 33rd Street, it's really good. So you try that out, you meet new people, you try a new joke. I mean, it was a whirlwind.
That's crazy. And you said that you bombed for 3 years, but like I said, you must have had some good too. Okay. So then tell me about you were doing kind of the Paul Reiser, kind of Seinfeld kind kind of like shtick. And then tell me about the time that some guy kind of like, he attacked you. And then that's when you broke out of the shell and you became.
Yeah. I was just so married to that idea of like, hey, you want to be a comic? You got to have a blazer on. You got to talk about observations. And,
did you actually wear the blazer?
With this? I didn't.
Okay.
I couldn't afford one, but I wasn't that bad. But I just thought, hey, that's what a professional does. You go up on stage and you go, what's the deal with milk? There's almond milk, there's oat milk, there's cow milk, blah, blah. And people are like, what? What are you doing? It was so corny and eye-rolly and cringy. And, I'm at these bar shows with like bikers or some psycho with a mohawk, or I'm at a show in Harlem. So like there was zero awareness. I was just some aloof douche, just going like, what's up with the columns? You got this kind of column, you got that kind of column, whatever it is. And so they all hated me. And then one day I got heckled and I just went off on this guy, and I was killing because I was just out of my shell, just being myself, being a human, and not just this robotic stand-up, machine going, oh, what's up with a hairbrush? You use it on your hair, but a toothbrush, use it on your teeth. Like, no one gave a shit.
Yeah.
And so cracking out of my shell, it was painful because this guy was making fun of me, but it had to happen.
So that helped. Was the defining moment for you to change your comedy style?
I guess so. I guess in that moment, I went like, oh, geez, that felt good. That felt normal. That felt right. Because I was in this kind of caged box where I was like, all right, I got to be this way. I got to be that way. And this was like, just be funny, be myself. Because you're funny with your friends.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I thought when you stood on stage, you had to transform into this formal comedy archetype guy.
So did you do more just like kind of off the cuff stuff at that point then, and kind of just making fun of people in the crowd? And
Yeah. I made this rule where you kind of had to open talking about the room, talking about the guy in the front row, just so that people know like, oh, this guy's in the moment. He's in the room right now. And then you slowly slide into material. And that's when they're listening now.
Okay.
It's almost like foreplay. You can't just put the dong in the vagina. You gotta work around it a little bit.
Okay, thanks. That's a good tip. I like that.
There you go.
And so
just the tip.
Yeah, just the tip. So tell me about you were like opening. Is this the point where you started opening up for Amy Schumer? Because like you opened for her for like 3 years, but that was like before she was really big. She was just doing colleges and stuff.
Yeah. That was all before her, and then. I got a gig at a club hosting or doing a set, and I bombed, but I had one joke work. She saw the one joke and was like, I like this guy. And she's like, I think we would gel well together. And I was like, all right, great. And then I didn't think much of it. And I started opening for her. And then I just watched her go from the Ha Ha Hut in Louisville, Kentucky to Carnegie Hall, to the Garden, to movies, to, the moon.
And was she the one that got you into the Comedy Cellar? Because that was kind of like the highest club in New York to get into, right?
She was. And, all your friends are such cum guzzlers because they're like, how come she hasn't got, there? How come she doesn't have you writing on her show? How come you're not in Trainwreck? I'm like, she's having me open all over the country. I'm making a ton of money, like seeing the world in a private jet, doing arenas. Like, wow. What do you mean? Why? What am I going to just keep asking for more stuff? Like, geez, have a little...
but also, didn't you not? You didn't ask for any of that, right? Like you never asked or pushed. She was just when she offered, and you were just, yeah.
Well, some guys are just so like, well, she's your friend. Why didn't she give you this? I'm like, well, she doesn't give me the world. She gave me a thing, and I should be happy with that. And this is why, by the way, you're not opening for anybody because all you do is ask for shit. Nobody wants to be asked for shit all day long. So I noticed that, and I never did it, and then I got shit.
Yeah, I've heard that. That's probably good advice to be more grateful about what you have, right?
Yes, completely. I mean, people just want more and more and more. What else can you give me? I'm like, what am I doing for her? Nothing.
Right.
So the least I can do is shut the fuck up and do my job.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. And then it was around the same time you got your first late night thing was Conan O'Brien. Were you a fan of Conan O'Brien? I was a big Conan fan.
Sure. Loved Conan. Loved Masturbating Bear. I loved all those gags. That one guy who would come on and go, paper or plastic. I love that guy. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
I don't remember the paper or plastic. Which was that?
He was like a joke salesman who would come on every now and then and be like, all right, Conan, here's the deal. And he would throw his briefcase on the desk. He's like, I got some jokes for you. And he would say these horrific one-liners, and they were so bad that the crowd would like groan. And he would go, paper or plastic? How do you want to pay for these? You know, and it was so funny. I'll give it a Goog on YouTube.
Okay.
I'm sure it's up there.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
But it was hilarious, and I loved how weird he was, and I loved the show, and it was different and all that, whatever. And so being on the show was like a huge honor.
Was that a boost too? Did you notice that, like, with your followers and stuff, or getting other gigs and stuff?
No, that was back. I was so new that you have to do a lot just to get a little bit of recognition, because they have to go, oh, people keep talking about this guy. Oh, I'll check him out. Oh, look what all this other stuff he's done. And you need like a backlog. It's kind of like fashion, where, you know, you go to some town. I live in New York City. Then you go to some town 5 years later and you're like, oh, you're wearing the stuff they wore 5 years ago, because it took a while to get here. It's the same with getting famous or recognition or followers. Yeah, it takes forever to get on board.
Like, you probably know the famous comedians before in New York locally, before they're national, right? Like Tim Dillon and all these people that are kind of like, I think I had Ted Alexander on, and he was telling me about Tim Dillon before. I feel like he's kind of breaking out a little bit more now, but like a year ago or 6 months ago, wherever it was, like, I don't think anybody knew Tim Dillon. Now I feel like he's a lot bigger.
No. And he's been around forever. That's why everybody goes, oh, this guy's an overnight success. You're like, no, he's been doing it 10, 15 years.
Right. And so you did a Last Comic Standing. You called that kind of a shim sham. It was a lot of like open micers and stuff. Or tell me about your experience with that show.
Well, it's reality TV, so the whole it's a sham. It's rigged. It's a hoax. You know, it's people. They pit people against each other, and they tell you kind of who's going to win in the beginning, and like you have no shot. And they're like, we want you to be the dramatic person. And
wait, they tell you who's going to win before?
They kind of gave you a hint. They're like, one of these two will probably make it to the end. And you're kind of like, okay, well, he's winning.
Interesting.
So the whole thing's it's rigged, but you get bamboozled, and they make you stay in a car. Like, they sit you in a van for like 3 hours, and they let you go on because they want you to be kind of crotchety, and then you fight with each other, and they film all that. It's pretty horrible, but it was a great way to get exposure 10 years ago.
Yeah, you don't really need that. So that show's not even around anymore, I don't think so.
No, but it broke a lot of people.
Do you think for the best, though? Or like, you feel like if it's a shim sham,
no, I don't think I mean, obviously, like Norm Macdonald was the judge, and he's like a real comic.
Yeah,
it's not
he's
like
great.
Whoopi Goldberg or, you know, Roseanne or one of these fucking comedy people. But he would, you know, all these hacks go on, and he would go like, this is horrible. Like, you're a comic? This is horrible writing. This has all been done over 1 million times.
Yeah.
Like, this is so unoriginal. And they were like, oh my God, how can you talk like this? Like, well, he's just being he's only the one being honest. He's the only one being a real comedian here. And so they hated him. So nobody wants the real guy. You know, nobody wants that on TV, because TV, it's got to be glitz and glamour and showbiz, baby, bright lights. So they have to fake everything. So when something's real, they're like, oh shit, abort, hit the button, you know? And that was Norm.
Yeah, no, he is so fun. He's one of my favorites for sure. Absolutely.
Easily one of the funniest guys on the planet.
Have you met him or worked with him at all? Or
I met him once at the Comedy Cellar for 10 seconds. I took a photo. He was a sweet guy, nice guy. He was running his Letterman set.
Oh,
one of the last episodes of Letterman, where he does that great bit about
the Germany
the world.
Yes. Oh my God, that is classic. That is such a great bit.
I saw it live. It was great.
Oh, you were in the audience, or you saw it at the Cellar?
Yeah, he was just trying to run it a few times before he went on the show, and I got to see it at the Cellar, and it was fucking killer. And he was cool, and I was with my friend Joe List, who he knew from Last Comic Standing, and he's like, "Oh, you should have won. It's crazy you didn't win. You're one of the funnier guys." And that's TV in a nutshell. Is like, Joe List is this kind of gangly, weird looking guy who's a great writer, but he's not like TV. He's not what you want for TV. Wants, you know, we want this underdog or the black guy or the gay guy, whatever it is. And Joe's just a good comic who's a white guy. It's boring. So he should have won probably, and Norm knew that, but they had to give it to somebody else.
Do you think? And you think you've said that they kind of do that kind of stuff a lot in the big TV industry. Like, I mean, that's what I think I kind of like about YouTube and Instagram and all that. It's a free for all for the most part.
Yes. Love. I mean, everything is like that. Look at politics. It's like, all right, we got to get Kamala Harris because she's a strong ethnic woman or whatever the hell, brown. And you're like, I don't even think Biden likes her, but you just got to have her in because.
Oh no, she ripped him to shreds in the primaries. Did you see that?
But it's optics. It's all optics, and that's the same with Last Comic Standing. It's just like, this will look better if he wins, but he's not the best comic. But it'll look better, and that's all they care about. And it's the same with everything.
Well,
and that's why I do love YouTube and Instagram.
Yeah,
it's like the tried and true cream of the crop rises, that whole thing.
Absolutely. So let's talk about Instagram, because that's how I discovered you. I don't know if you knew that, but yeah. So that it's funny because I think it was in that Explore tab. If you just go to like, it'll kind of like pick things that it thinks that you're gonna like, and you had the bit about being late. I saw that your bit about being late, and I was like, this guy's awesome. He's hilarious. This is such a clever bit. Did that take a long time to work that one out? Because I feel like it's so perfect.
Thank you. That bit took 6 months to get right. I mean, you think about the concept of that bit. The premise of that bit is so high concept.
Yes.
Being late is like a drug. Okay.
Yeah.
How is it like a drug? And I had to just sit there and bomb with it and figure it out and try this, try that. That worked. Okay, keep that. But now this part isn't working. I mean, it just took so much trial and error. So many times where I would say that joke out in public and people go, what? It's like a drug? What are you talking about? And I had to just keep explaining it and making it accessible. And then it finally hit. And it did really well on that show. That was James Corden. And obviously they were a giving audience because it's TV, but it never does that well. So I was so glad I got it on TV killing like that.
No, it freaking kills. And I just love the way you wrap it up with the intervention bit about like, if it was like a drug, if there was an intervention, I wouldn't be there. I wouldn't be there. By the time I show up, everyone's gone. I mean, it was like, it's like literally like perfect. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. It's just genius is all I could say. I don't know. But
all that took forever. That's the funny thing about comedy is that if you see the finished product,
right,
you're like, oh, this guy's great. But if you saw me working it out, you'd be like, this guy is the worst comic on the planet.
Do you ever?
It's a weird thing about stand-up.
Do you ever think your material is like too smart for some people? Because sometimes I look at some of the comedians that are really famous, and I'm like, dude, that shit's not that funny. Like Mark Norman is way funnier, but like and Fahim too. I feel like Fahim, some of his stuff is like maybe it's over people's head. Smart. Yeah,
yeah. I think there's definitely but that's the hard part about comedy and that's why the internet's great. Is just because the audience is dumb doesn't mean you suck.
Right.
But in your mind, you're like, well, I'm bombing, but they just might not get it. But just because they don't get it doesn't mean you're bad. So it's this weird thing where if maybe you're too smart for the room, just put it online and the smart people hopefully will find it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to make a lot of money in this biz, you got to be more accessible. I mean, McDonald's makes more money than the bone broth place, and sure, the bone broth place has great reviews and a Michelin star, but fucking bone broth. I want to fry.
Well, yeah. So tell me about like you've done these corporate gigs, and you said they pay really well. You got like 7 of them, but you bombed all of them, right?
Every single goddamn one of them. Brutal. I mean, my act will walk a tightrope on certain things, which I don't think are bad, but in a corporate setting, all corporate is just sexual harassment, racial issues, gender study, whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
That's my whole act. So they're just like, whoa, this is all like gonna get me in trouble. The boss is sitting right there. He can't see me laugh at this pedophile joke.
So why do they hire you then? Because they see your material and see what you do and.
Because they're idiots. They see, oh, he's on a Tonight Show in a suit. Oh, he's got this many views on his special. Oh, he's got, Conan and Corden. This guy's going to be TV ready, squeaky clean. And they just don't get it that, I did well at that show, but that's a crowd who's at a comedy show. This is a crowd who's at a corporate outing with suits on and filet mignon and, a chandelier.
Yeah. Tell me about some of these. Like, tell me the one, I know you told these on other podcasts, but like the Pharmaceutical Company one, the award show, they hired you for 50 minutes of comedy and a 3-hour award show.
Brutal, man. Brutal. I mean, that was like the Emmys. I had a stack of cards this big with like, you got to announce this guy. Then he wins an award. Then he gives a speech. Then I have to go up and do more comedy. Then we have an intermission. Then I go back up and do comedy. And then we have another award. And the whole thing was 3 hours. There was an engineer. There was tech. There was lights. There was everything. And I got fired within 20 minutes of it.
Because of a dildo joke, right?
Yeah. A joke about a vibrator. And the CEO's wife got offended and said I was being sexist. And I'm like, what's wrong with dildos? Like, we're adults. What are you crazy?
And didn't you? And wasn't it a joke you had done before on the Tonight Show or Conan or something?
Yeah, it was a joke I think on Conan.
Okay.
And so I even told him that. I was like, everything's okay to talk. I have to run this by everybody, beat it into them. Like, you sure this is cool? This is my material. This is and they go, yeah, it's great, because they see it killing on TV. So they're like, oh, this is great. And then you get into a room with regular bodies, and they're like, oh, I can't have a dildo joke here.
But
this is all very strange. Yeah, people go home and blow each other and fuck each other in the ass, and then you mention dildos, and they're like, oh. But
didn't people like reach out to you later and say like, oh, that was really funny. I was like holding back the laughter because like my boss was next to me and stuff like that.
Yeah, I got a few of those, which is always nice. And it was in Philly, and I did the Philly Comedy Club like 6 months later. Yeah, and a lot of the audience from there was at the club.
That's hilarious. So
yeah.
And you still got paid anyways, right? So who cares?
I got paid.
Yeah, that's hilarious. And then
what? It was a great paycheck.
Tell me about the other one where you some guy found you at the cellar and he wanted you to roast people at his country club, and he gave you all the dirt on the employees. So then you did it, and then that didn't end up so well.
Yeah, that was a really bad one. He didn't want to pay. I had to fight for that check. But killed at the cellar one night. Some guy in a suit, good-looking guy with like slick hair and a cigar, was like, "Hey man, I'm a hedge fund guy. Please roast my hedge fund company. We're having a big kind of event upstate at a golf course. Come on by. We'll pay you this much money, and I'll give you a bunch of dirt on all the employees." And I said, "Oh, this is gonna be a piece of cake. The money's good. Upstate gig." Gonna feed me the whole thing. I get up there, it's like beautiful grounds, everything's from 1828. There's servers and white jackets, and there's Ferraris and Maseratis and Beamers in the driveway. I was like, this is gonna be amazing. And then I get up there and I start zinging the people like he asked me to with the dirt he gave me.
Yeah,
and it did not fly. They weren't into it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Just like, hey, Bob, we all know you're addicted to Coke. And his wife's like, I knew it.
So like they didn't know that he knew the dirt, like, and the dirt was real, like the guy really was on Coke and that kind of shit. Like,
oh yeah. That's why it was good dirt, because it was all real. Like, hey, Joe, we all know you're gay. And his wife's like, I knew you were gay, and his kids are crying, and, the table flips over. And it was like 7 minutes of that. Like, well, this next one will get him, and it just never turned around. And eventually the guy was like, get off.
But why did he get, like, what did he think was going to happen? If whatever.
He thought it was going to kill. Like, oh, he got me. Because he kept saying, like, be brutal, be vicious. Right. Really, I want blood out there.
And he gave him what he wanted. And then there was another one. Tell me about this one, the internet company that hired you. You won't say what, but Halloween's coming up. So it was a Halloween costume contest, and they told you to be edgy. And yes. I thought this joke you did was hilarious, but I'll let you tell it.
Oh, well, that was the AOL was the company.
Oh, okay. You can say it now. Cool. All right.
Yeah, whatever. Who cares? We're all going to die. And so it was a Halloween thing, and it was this mapped out thing. We had like a bulletin board full of all these cards of like, first we're going to do the Halloween show. Then it's going to do a drag queen on the street. Then it's going to be bobbing for apples. Like, this thing was mapped out. We planned it out for like 2 weeks. Everything was perfect. Everything was ready to go. First thing, opening Halloween show. Costume contest. Be edgy. That was always the thing. We like your edge. Edgy. Yeah, you're harsh. You're crazy. You say whatever you want. You're a comic. Yeah, all right. So there's a panel of judges, and then like a bunch of bleachers full of people in Halloween costumes. I'm talking devil, cat lady, knight in shining armor, you name it. So one guy would walk up like Harry Potter, and I'd fuck with him and say jokes, and then the audience, or the judges were like, oh, I give you an 8, I give you a 9, whatever. And then he would leave, and then Catwoman came on, and she had this whip and all this leather, and she was sexy and heels and everything, and she was hot. And then as she's leaving, this woman is like an African queen coming on, and they kind of almost bump into each other. And I go, hey, I'm trying to be funny. I'm going, hey, watch that whip around the African. Oh, God. And literally the fucking cameras went, like some plants died, the lights went out. God. Everybody went, good. And I felt it was weird, but I just kept going. And then they rushed me to the dressing room. I'm putting a dress on. I got a wig on. I got big eyelashes. I got all this makeup. And I'm going to be in full drag and do man on the street or woman on the street. And then they go, hey, we got bad news. We got to let you go. And I was like, we got 20 more scenes to do. We got a whole shoot day. And they're like, yeah, you're out. And I still got paid.
Oh, wow. So who did they just find someone else to replace you? Like, what happens in those situations? They have a backup ready to go, or what?
I don't know what the corporate in Philly, they had a backup guy that had some like charming doctor just kind of read the shit. But that, I think they scrapped the whole thing.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Crazy.
So yeah, you get like trolls online. You said the negative comments hurt you, but your joke. Oh, where'd you go? Hello?
Oh, sorry. Phone crapped out there.
Oh, all right. Yeah, you were saying the joke. Your jokes aren't intended to hurt people, but some people. No. You said it seems like they kind of want to seem high and mighty, and they're just saying they're offended. And like you say that people should judge you on your real life instead of your jokes, because you made a good point about this. You said if people judged people by their stand-up act, then Cosby would still be a saint.
Right.
So that's a really good point. Yeah. No, it's your point. Yeah, it was your point.
Hearing it back, I'm like, hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, it's weird how we do that with stand-up.
Yeah.
Like, it's an act. It's a performance. It's written. You know, I have a school shooting joke. They're like, what do you like school shootings? I'm like, no, they exist. So I wrote a joke about it.
Right.
Are you crazy? Like, the jokes are all mechanic. It's all mechanical. It's like, okay, kids, when they run in the car, they yell shotgun. Now kids yell shotgun in the classroom.
Right.
You'll go, what are you're promoting school show? I'm like, no, I'm just using the word shotgun. It's a homophone or whatever the hell. It means two different things, or homonym. Like, that's what a joke is.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with my love or hatred towards school shootings. It's just, I can make this into a joke. That's my job.
That's really clever. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So they get mad about stuff like that. And I guess people they don't get it, because, Quentin Tarantino has a movie with a rape scene. No one thinks he's going home and raping a guy in a gimp mask, But
I hope not. Yeah.
With us, I guess because there's no production and no lights and camera and all that they think like, oh, he must mean this. Like, well, just because you thought I meant it doesn't mean I mean it.
Right. So are you ever scared to say certain jokes, or do you like run things by somebody like your girlfriend or somebody to say like, hey, do you think this is okay? Or do you just freaking go out to the open mic and just say, I guess we'll see if it's okay?
Yeah. Well, luckily I'm not famous really. So I can,
you have 250,000 followers on Instagram.
I'm talking about, nobody knows who the fuck I am. I don't sell out everywhere. I'm not a household name by a long shot. And I don't know if I want to be, just by seeing what's going on out there. But
that's true.
Yeah. I think I can still get away with some stuff because nobody gives a shit. It's when you get successful, they really want to ruin your life.
Well, but like Bill Burr, and Dave Chappelle, they both have definitely pushed the envelope a little, but they're still standing.
They're still standing. They're great guys and they're sweet. And it blows my mind that people want to hurt them. And that's what I don't get. Like, people go, hey, it's free speech. You can make your horrible joke and I can tell you suck. Like, yeah, you can do that all day. Look, I think I suck. But you can't say this guy's a racist and should lose his job and take his work away. So they're not the same. You're trying to act like you saying this guy's a racist is even to him making a joke, attempting humor. You're saying you're saying an accusation, like this guy's a horrible person. And then when they go, Bill Burr's a racist, and you go, well, his wife's black, they go, whatever. Like, no, not whatever. Say you're sorry, say you're wrong, and you fucked up, and apologize. You called this guy a horrible thing, and now you're going, It's almost like you want him to be racist. Right.
No, that's totally true. I always think of like the intent. Your intent as a comedian is to try to make people laugh. You're not trying to like promote like the hate of one group or another. You're just trying to make people laugh. And if it's funny, it's funny. If it's about school shootings or rape or pedophilia or whatever, like it's a joke, and it's hopefully going to make someone laugh.
Yeah, that's everything. It's the intent, and I'm a comic. I don't know. I thought that's what we were doing here. And yes, sometimes I'll make a joke about a toothbrush. Sometimes I'll make a joke about, sexual deviant. Like they're just two things that pop into my brain sometimes.
Absolutely. Do you ever have like one of your fellow comedians either come up to you on after you were on stage, or like after a tweet or message you or anything and play that game where they're like, oh, that was offensive to me. That was actually bad towards, black people or Asian people or transgender or whatever.
Yeah.
Really?
I've had that. And I just don't understand. I'm like, are you lying? Like, are you pretending that you give a shit, or are you just that stupid that you don't know what we're doing here?
Yeah.
You know, like, which one is it?
And are these like ever comedians that you really respect that are like high, like
No,
really? Oh,
never,
okay.
never. Not once.
Okay. All right.
Michelle Wolf has never said to me, "Hey, that joke about girls is a little harsh," you know.
Okay.
We got weird priorities. Like, if you make a joke about murder, nobody cares. But if you make a joke about gay people, people get mad. You're like, well, murder is bad.
Right.
And
no, that's totally
gay
true.
People are not bad.
That's exactly true.
Your priorities are out of whack.
Yeah. Do you think like the bad shit and the dark times? Cause like, I mean, you talk about like you growing up in that dilapidated mansion with the cockroaches, and then you moved to New York and you got mugged a bunch of time. You had bed bugs and all that stuff. Like, you've had some pretty dark times. Do you think that's helped your comedy, or like, how does that help shape the person that you are? Like,
no, I don't think so. You talking about the early stuff or now?
Just like your whole, I mean, like all the shit that you like shitting your pants as a kid, being robbed, bombing on stage for 3 years, like having bed bugs, like all the shit that do you think that's helped like make your character and make you a better comedian and working as a janitor? I mean, you should have, there's times where you probably could have given up, right?
I guess, but I hadn't, what else would I do? You know, if I wasn't doing that, I'd be working at, Lowe's or something, like, that was, to me, that was something to do, and it was kind of fun and weird and adventurous and exciting. So yeah, I was bombing, and yeah, I was a janitor, but like, I was living in New York. I was having a blast. I was meeting fun people and living my life. I'd rather do that than have a stable job in a cubicle.
God, that's so true though. That's, oh my God, it's so funny that you say that.
Shitting myself and wetting the bed and all that childhood stuff it sucked, but yeah, maybe I think it just made me more realistic. Like, life can be hard. Not everything's supposed to be great. Discomfort is a part of life. Get over it. Keep moving.
That's amazing. No, it's really cool. So you went through all that shit, but now, I mean, you got to be one of the top up and coming comedians. I would say you're already there, but you're saying you're not famous yet. But Seinfeld, Jerry Seinfeld, who's, let's say, I mean, he's got to be the number one best comedian of all time, at least top 5, right? And he said that you're one of the best comedians out there right now. And he gave you a chance to open for him, and talk about that.
Yeah, that was, that was game changing. That was another level of just like, holy shit, I can't believe this is happening. Being on Conan, you're like, wow, this is crazy. But like, that happens, comics get better and grow and get on TV. But that thing with him was like, oh my God, I sit with my friends, we quote his show and his jokes all day long. I grew up watching it on NBC with my parents. Must-see TV. I always say, just the fact that life is that long, that it could be, this could happen, that I could meet this guy and have the same job as this guy. It's crazy.
It's freaking insane. So tell me about the time that you opened for him at the Beacon, where did things... And this is a funny story too. Like, shit is still kind of going wrong. Even when you think you've made it, you're opening for Seinfeld, it doesn't always go as planned, right?
Yeah, well, he's a prickly guy. He's very meticulated, and he's is it meticulated or meticulous?
Meticulous, I think. He's like OC on the show. He's like really OCD about everything. He jokes about it on the show, so I assume he's like that in real life.
Yeah, and obviously, he's successful, so he's doing something right, and it's his show. So, I'm going to play ball. I want to be a team player here, and I want to do it like you want to do it. But, you're so nervous. You're opening for him. It's the fucking Beacon. It's sold out. It's a big deal. So he's giving you instructions, and you're kind of like, oh God, don't forget this. Look like you're listening, taking this information, even though this giant legend of comedy is talking to you and 2 inches away from your face. Like, so it's a lot of instructions, and I've flubbed it, and he was upset, and rightfully so. I mean, this is a top tier show. There's no room for fuck ups. This is the top of the mountain here, folks. Showbiz wise, stand up wise, doesn't get any bigger than this. And so I had a lot in my mind, and I guess I slipped up, and he gave me the business, and rightfully so. I fucked up, but it's bridge under the anal, and we're good.
But it's not like you did a bad set. It's just that you thought you finished too early, so you like didn't know what to do. So you went back out there because he wasn't there or something, right? He wasn't ready.
Yeah. Well, that's all part of the instructions. You got to go out and do 15 minutes, and you have to just know when it's over.
Okay.
So you have no clock or gauge or anything. So obviously, I don't want to go long. I don't want to do 25.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
But I don't want to go do 10. So I think I did somewhere about 13, maybe, because I'm just winging it in my head. And I got off, and he wasn't there, and he's supposed to run right on when I come off. And so I just panicked, and I was like, well, they can't have dead air. So I ran out there and did a couple more minutes to make up for my shortness. And then I got off, and he was like, what the hell was that?
Where was he, though?
Just waited.
Yeah. What? Where was he? Like, why wasn't he ready, or what?
He was in the elevator coming down. He actually said he saw me running back on. So it was that close.
Oops. Okay. Hey, so will you be on Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee next season then? Because
I think the show's done.
Really?
Yeah.
That sucks.
I know. I felt like I was a shoe, and I was getting there at least.
Yeah, it's funny that he would say all these nice compliments, and then it was like right around that time that his whatever the last season came out, and I was like, oh, so is Mark going to be on that season? And you weren't, and so I was like, oh, maybe next season.
The movie magic is that shit shot like 2 years before.
Right. Yeah,
so he didn't even know me then.
So and you've done morning TV, you've done late night TV, but Fahim told me that he did Joe Rogan too. Just you've done it a couple of times. He said that's bigger than even doing the late nights right now. Like that. So tell me about the Joe Rogan. I just listened. I finished your most recent. I listened to both of the interviews you did on that show. They were such good conversations. Probably way better than I'm doing. But I mean, people should definitely check those out. Tell me about that experience.
Killing it, Fatty.
Thank you.
It was wild. I mean, I feel like that moment in my life, that kind of 2-month period, was the biggest comedy celebrity exposure I ever got. Like, I did the Tonight Show. First, I opened for Seinfeld. Insane. Biggest night of my life. Biggest weekend of my life. Huge. I have his phone number. We're texting. Then I get the Tonight Show. Do the Tonight Show in 30 Rock, Fallon, the whole thing. Leave 30 Rock in a limo, go to the airport, fly to LA, met some friends, got drunk in a suit. I'm still wearing the suit. Drunk, went out, got an Airbnb, crashed, woke up, hungover, and went straight to Joe Rogan's pad. Did his podcast for 3 hours, hungover, talking to him. It's still in the suit. I haven't showered. Then did a bunch of shows at the Comedy Store, and I lived it up. And once you do Rogan, I especially in LA, like the comics treat you differently. They're like, oh, this guy's been stamped. Like, he's in now. So everybody was Joey Diaz, like, what's up, kid? How you doing? I'm like, we've never met, but this is great,
He's hilarious.
He's like, funny, you did good on the Tonight Show, whatever the hell. I'm like, oh yeah, crazy. He's a cool guy. And then Jeselnik's there, and all these people.
Jeselnik was there? Hey. Oh, I love him.
Yeah. That scene in Goodfellas where he gets arrested, and he's like, I thought everybody was gonna be mad at me. Then they show up in the court, and they're like, you popped your cherry. That's what it felt like.
Oh, okay.
I went to the store, and all these LA comics like Santino and Brad Williams, and all these people were like, hey, what's up, man? You did it. Good for you. Congrats.
Did he let you drive his Tesla? I heard you guys talking about that he was going to let you drive the Tesla.
He didn't, because he had to run, but I think I will. I've texted him about it. That's still on the table. It's like an IOU.
Is that weird? Do you get like an adrenaline rush when a text comes up from Seinfeld or Joe Rogan?
Totally. Totally. It's like a supermodel. You're just like, oh my God, you're like deleting. That's stupid. Spell check. Is this good? Oh, be yourself. Relax. And it's all that shit.
Oh shit. So some people don't like Joe Rogan. They hate him. They see him as this like kind of like alpha male, like douche. But you said he's like really actually just like a very liberal guy who's like, he has like all these eclectic people opening for him, and he's just really down to earth, right?
Super down. He's the most normal guy, and to me, he's the definition of open-minded. I mean, he has this crazy right-wing guy on, then he has a crazy left-wing guy on, then he has a scientist, then he has a comedian, then he has an actor, then it's men, women, black. He doesn't give a shit. But it feels like because he's not playing by all the rules that people don't like him. And again, it goes back to optics. He's a bald white guy with muscles and a tight T-shirt who's rich. That bothers people, I think.
What are the rules? You say he doesn't play by the rules. What do you think the rules are?
Well, he's honest, and he's not marching in lockstep to kind of the social parameters we've set. You got to say this, you got to say that, you got to be this, because you know, we kind of do a paint by numbers thing now. Like, this is bad. All this is good. Like, cops are bad. Black people are good, you know, but it's like, that's not how the world works. Some cops are good. Some black people are bad. I mean, I know that's edgy shit now, but it's just kind of how the world works. And I don't know. People seem to not like that. Then I think they resent his success, and he's a millionaire and he doesn't need them. And I think that bothers people. And he's a great guy. I don't know. He's a sweet dude. And I guess if people got to know him, they might be nicer to him. But I think they just kind of go off like, oh, he's a fighter. He's an MMA guy. He's like a meathead. But he's just a cool guy who's curious about shit. And I think sadly, if more people were like him, I think we'd get along better.
No, I agree.
You know, we're so tense now. I feel like
his show is great. I listened to your 2 interviews. I listened to Fahim's interview. I listened to when he had Ben Shapiro on. That's actually a really good interview because he challenges Ben on a lot of his right-wing stuff. And he's like, hey, look, and it's like, they're actually having a good conversation. I wish we could, like you said, we could do more of that. I feel like if the right and the left got together and just talked about these issues, I feel like we could solve a lot of problems. We don't need the politicians either.
I completely agree. Yeah. We live in our little bubbles online. I mean, you pick who you follow, you block people. So you get to see what you want instead of everything. And then so when some new thing comes into your world, you're like, whoa, I didn't approve this. And whoa, I don't like that. And then you just flip out and you kind of malfunction.
That's true.
And like everybody if you disagree with people now, they just go, oh, you're wrong. And that means you're evil. And you're like, how did we get here?
Yeah, and don't you think part of it is like being online and the keyboard warriors? Because I feel like if you have a conversation in person, you're going to be able to talk it out better than even if you're texting. I have conversations with my friends texting where I'm like, okay, you wouldn't say that to me in real life.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's almost, when you're in your car and somebody cuts you off.
Yes.
And you're like, I'm going to kill this motherfucker. I hate him. I hope his family dies. Then you pull up next to him and he's like, what's up, man? You're like, hey, nice wheels. That's how it is on Twitter. It's just so disconnected. It's faceless, and I mean, how many people do I know who are like famous or whatever, and they online are the hero, they're an activist, they're a perfect person, then in real life they're fucking degenerates.
Really? Like who?
Oh, I can't say who, but
damn it. I want the dirt.
Anybody. I mean, we're all flawed. We're all human.
Yeah, sure.
It's so silly. This guy looked at a woman's ass. Yeah, he did. He probably jerked off to her. Who cares? Like this woman did this and got in trouble for saying that. And like, I've said worse things than that, to my aunt on the phone.
Yeah, well, it is ridiculous.
We're so like, we have to just filter everything and comb through everything. Like your life wasn't perfect. And if you make one mistake, you're an asshole. But then everybody preaches like compassion, understanding, and whatever. But it's like,
seems hypocritical. Yeah.
Yes, very critical. Sure. I think it makes them feel better by calling you a piece of shit. Who knows?
So let's talk about that because I mean, I'm just gonna say you're easily one of the top comedians on the planet right now. I mean, if Seinfeld says that, you are. So let's talk about your special. We watched it last night. Some of the jokes I had seen before because I've seen you. I've watched all your clips and stuff. But it's a great special, especially for somebody who's never seen you. They should definitely check it out. But I don't understand this. You had to do your special on YouTube? Like, why? So you're telling me no Netflix or Amazon Prime, none of HBO, none of these people wanted to do your special? Like it's too controversial or what?
Well, who am I? I mean, who am I? Why would they have me? It wasn't controversial. It's the optics, baby. Yeah. This guy or
your
the
straight white male
looks better. Yeah, it looks better to have them, and they don't really give a shit. I mean, comedy's come this weird way. Me and my friend were talking about this yesterday about how it used to be about killing. Whoever kills is just pushed to the top,
right?
Murdering,
yeah.
And now it's like that's 12th on the list of like priorities. Okay, we got to have this type. We have to check this box. We have to have the person who's saying the certain things in this way and that way, and how old are they, and what do they look like, and what side are they on, which way are they politically, blah 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 blah, and then funny. So, yeah, I appreciate you like the special. There's some fun jokes in there.
Yeah.
It went well, but that doesn't matter anymore on the network's world. But in YouTube world, it still matters because people go, well, if it sucks, why would I watch it?
Yeah, I mean, and it's killing it on YouTube. I think it had 2.5 million views or something like that.
3.5.
Oh, 3. Not that you've checked or anything, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about some of those like more controversial topics then, because like with racism, I mean, you have Chris Allen was your opener, right? I think when I saw you at the Marquee in Phoenix, it was so funny. You did this bit about racism and how like you have to like okay some of your like jokes that might seem edgy with a black guy, and so you had him come out and give like a thumbs up, like in the middle of your. I've never seen anyone do that. That was so clever.
That was his idea.
Oh, that was his idea, really?
I had a bit about black guys giving me the thumbs up.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, I need you to do that in front of white people so they know that this is okay, because they're all terrified to laugh. And I would do that joke, and then he, as a goof, would do that on the side of the stage, and he's black, so the place would go nuts.
That was hilarious. But you said that actually you've had black guys come up to you after shows and really complimented on your on your honesty. Like, because you don't pander, you're just saying what you think is real. And they appreciate that.
There's a weird thing now where like everybody's treating black or brown people like they're retards or children. You know, they're like, hey, kid gloves, can't say this, be nice. And you're like, well, they're people and they've been through a lot. So obviously they're maybe have a little more tough skin than you think. Like, what do you think these guys are? You're like 10-year-olds? These are fucking adults who can take a job. And you go to do a black room and they're saying the most horrific shit on the planet and they're fucking loving it.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
Right. No, it's interesting. I can't remember. I think it was on Rogan that I heard this where he made an interesting point about little people. And I think you guys were talking about this too, like with Brad Williams, the comedian. His dad basically told him, like, he's a little person. His dad's like, look, I'm not going to give you a hand or a ladder to get on that top shelf. You're just going to have to fucking figure it out for yourself. And obviously he figured that out. Like, do you think that we sometimes do people a disservice by trying to make things too easy for them or trying to like kind of like cater to them too much? I mean, there's got to be some.
Yeah, definitely.
You want to be nice to people, but you don't want to just like, what's the word? Like, be condescending almost, right?
Yes. Condescending. That's the key. Yeah, of course. I think, it's like an astronaut in space. There's no resistance. So they lose all their muscle. And then they come back and they're like, oh shit, I'm weak as hell. I can't lift anything. Maybe I'm a little sick. Because they're just not, what do you call it? They're not consuming stuff, or nothing's pushing against them. And that causes weakness. Right. And I think that is a metaphor for the whole thing.
Well, and it's not equality.
Atrophy, that's the word.
What's the word? Sorry.
Atrophy.
Yes. No, and you're not treating people equal if you're not going to make fun of certain groups or certain people or whatever, right? I mean, you're not really.
And what is this weird thing in your brain where I make a joke about a certain group and you're like, oh my God, there's no way they can handle that. Are you kidding me? That's so mean. And the fact that you think it's that mean is worrisome to me. That like, what do you think these people are? Like, they can handle it. They'll be fine. Like, take it easy. Condescendo, the clown. Like, this is a tough person here, I hope. And if they have a problem, let them tell me. What do you think? You have to fight for that? It's just so weird.
Yeah. And do you think the younger generation, like, talk about that, like with millennials? Because I think Seinfeld, there's millennials that think the show Seinfeld is offensive. And like, he won't even do colleges, right? Because he said that the young crowds like don't get jokes. They're like offended. So like, when did young people become the old cranky people that get easily offended? When I was a kid, that was like the old people that would get offended. Right. Now it's the young people.
Well, I think here's my theory, because I think you're right. I think young people I think they mean well. I think they have good intentions, but it's weird because like everybody evens out. Like, look at Bill Cosby. He's the America's dad, pull your pants up, don't curse. Then he rapes people. So everybody, if you're going to go all the way this way, you're going to have to go all the way this way too. Everything has a reaction.
Yeah.
So like kids now, first of all, they can't make a joke about race. They can't make a joke about gay, gender. They got to be all right on the gender norms and the pronouns. So they got a lot of shit to worry about with saying and doing the right thing. But suicide rates are higher. Depression is way higher with kids because they're mean as shit online. They're mean as fuck. You can't fat shame, you can't slut shame, but you can still be mean. So it's almost like they have to even out. If you're going to be super nice over here with the politically correct terms, you got to be mean somewhere else. And, these poor girls have to like put 8 filters on so they look somewhat attractive on their social media profiles and all this. So they eventually just go nuts and kill themselves. And they're like, I don't know. It's like I said before, I think the priorities are out of whack.
Yeah.
Like Michael Jackson we can put out a documentary about how he fucks kids, but you can't make a joke about fucking kids. But like that happened. He did it. And you're watching that movie with popcorn and high-fiving your friend like, this is awesome. This is fucking TV right here. But then the joke about something that never happened or is made up is wrong. It's the priorities. And I think a big part of it is you got to show everybody what side you're on. You know, you got to show it's perception. Like, hey, look, I'm against this joke because I'm one of the good guys.
But it's a joke. Like that's what people don't understand. So I don't know.
And I think it's a lot of time on your hands. Like the better things are in the world, the more people complain. It's like a fancy restaurant.
Yeah.
You know, like a fancy restaurant, the champagne's too warm, the filet mignon's a little dry. But at Taco Bell, everybody's like, this is fucking great. We're lucky to be eating. I'm starving, you know.
I love Taco Bell.
No one's complaining about the guac.
No, absolutely. So you're kind of an introvert. You need like some mark time, right? I mean, but do you have a girlfriend now?
Sure.
Okay.
I do. Yes.
How are things with like, do you like having a girlfriend or you like being single? What's better for comedy?
That's a good question. It goes both ways. There's ups and downs with both. I mean, I'm lucky because she's cool. She gets me. I'm a weirdo. She's okay with that. And she gets the lifestyle of like going out on the weekend, working at night, stuff like that. So that part is really hard for most comedians, men and women, because like the partner doesn't get it. Like, well, let's go to dinner. That's when my show is. You know, nighttime is a big moment for couples. You know, go to the show, go to dinner and a movie and all this stuff, and all that's out. And then like, oh, maybe this weekend we'll go to the beach. Oh, well, this weekend I'm in Cleveland. All right, that's out. You know, so I get it. It's hard. It's unfair to the partner completely.
Does she have a normal job or she?
No, 9 to 5.
Okay.
But on the flip side, it's great to have someone be locked down, to be just know you have a person there. You know, like when you're single, you're like, yeah, this is great. I can do whatever I want. I don't have to check in, but I'm lonely, and you can get in some trouble with all that. So I think it's the plus side is just like I come home, she's there. It's nice.
Yeah.
You got a companionship.
Sure.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So talk about getting in trouble, because you used to booze a lot. You used to booze so much that you'd get hammered, you'd pass out, and then you get mugged. In New York, people would be like, hey, let's steal this guy's wallet. He's passed out in the middle of the street. Do you still drink now, or do you kind of calm down on that now that you're in the relationship and stuff? Or
I do. I did it up last night, but I don't black out as much. I don't like, I used to build my night around it. Like, I'm going to do 2 shows.
Okay.
I'll have a cocktail at each show. So by the time I'm done, I'll have a little buzz going. Then I'll just go out all night and get sloppy. And tomorrow I got my day clear so I can be hungover. That was my whole life. I was like mapping my life around alcohol, which is a sad way to live.
Yeah. And
now somebody said it best. They said they like drinking so much they don't want to abuse it because they like it so much. And I feel the same way. I enjoy boozing. But now I just try to sit there and enjoy it instead of just like, give me more.
So do you have rules, like certain things that you like, okay, I won't drink before a gig, or I only drink after, or just don't drink on nights that I'm doing a gig, or?
Oh yeah. Not before. That's a big mistake. If you get one slur on stage, racial slur. No, if you get one slur on stage, you're completely thrown off. You got to be sharp as a tack. You got to be ready. You got to have timing. So go nuts after. Even during is okay. Like have a beer while you're performing, but after, that's when you do it. And reward yourself. Like hold off, and then you're like, all right, I get a nice whiskey soda because I did it and I didn't drink, and now I earned it.
Who are your drinking buddies? Like, do you have like, is it other comedians in New York, or who are your go-to?
Yeah,
like, drinking
now they're
pals?
all sober though.
Oh, really?
So,
does that happen a lot? It seems like I interview a lot of musicians, and so many, you can't believe how many rock stars, they just go totally dry at some point. Usually like in their 40s or 50s, they just go, I'm done.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I guess times have changed, and also like I think we're busier now. We have to. before you just had to write jokes and perform them. Now you have to write jokes, tweet jokes, put out an Instagram video, have a web series, do a podcast, all kinds of extra shit. And before it was just like write, perform. So you had time to booze. You had the whole day free, you had the whole night free. And now it's like, oh, I got to edit that video I'm putting out on YouTube tomorrow because I need content. And now I got to do that podcast. And then we got to do an extra Patreon episode to get more money. And all, so it never ends now. Before it was like you could make a living off stand up alone.
So do you find yourself pretty busy with all that shit too? Like how many hours a week are you actually working, do you think?
Oh man, a lot.
But you love it.
It doesn't look like I'm laying in bed right now, but I'm counting this as work.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. No, no, absolutely. This work for me too. I'm not getting paid, but yeah, someday, hopefully.
Oh, we got to wrap this. We're an hour in here.
Yeah. Sorry. Last couple more questions. We'll wrap it up here. So ambition, like you're out there trying, like just kind of building on what you just said, like you're trying to write the jokes and you see other people that are just being lazy, and does that bother you, right?
No, you can be lazy. I don't care. I mean, I've been lazy, but it bothers me when they're I guess getting more stuff than me. Or no, that doesn't bother me either because that's not their fault.
Yeah.
If somebody offered them a gig and not me, and they said yes, that's not their fault. So I don't blame them. What bothers me is when people go, "Oh, Mark, he gets everything," or "That guy, he gets everything," and you're like, "Are you kidding? I'm doing all this extra work. I have to come up with all these ideas for shoots and videos and pitching a show. I have to come up with the idea." And I know friends who are like, Netflix goes to them with ideas like, "Hey, we have the show idea for you. Will you star in it?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, I would kill for that." I have to come up with the idea, then pitch it, then get shot down. Then they ask if they can have the idea and give it to someone else. And I'm like, "Jeez."
That's freaking insane.
It bugs me when people go like, "Yeah, Mark's got everything. Oh, he got 1 million views. Oh, it must be nice." I'm like, must be nice. I fucking shot the special myself. I had to hire the film guys. I had to find the venue. I had to sell it out. Like, it's hell.
Well, and
they
plus,
only see the success part. They don't see the shit that went into it.
Yeah, the background of like, you working as a janitor for all those years, bombing on stage. I mean, you've definitely earned your stripes for sure. You've like put in the grunt work. Okay, so last question before we kind of wrap it up here, but do you have a scale like when you roast people, like Thai food? When you go to Thai food, you're like, how many stars do you want? Like, do you have a scale of roasting people, like of how like spicy they want it, or because I want you to,
what do you mean?
I want you to roast me. I want to be roasted, but just give me it all. I don't care. I'm ready.
All right. You look like Chris Angel with AIDS. You look like an out of work magician. Nice goatee there, you weirdo. What is this? Dave Grohl. All right. You look like Dave Groan. All right, there we go.
All right, that was good. Nice, I like that. That's not too bad.
1992 called. They want their image back. I don't know.
That's not bad. For on the spot, that was pretty good. That's pretty good. All right,
all right, I'll take it. Maybe you look like even a sadder Wayne's World.
I don't even have a partner. I don't even have a Garth though. I need a Garth.
Well, you're Wayne.
Okay, I'm Wayne.
I'll be Garth.
I'm Wayne. Okay, there we go. That's perfect. And then I always end with a charity. Is there a charity that you work with or you want to promote or tell people about? Or I gave you the heads up. You like the comment.
I know. Yeah. I know. I like the idea. I know a stripper named Charity. Yeah. Please give her money. No.
There's so many things that we talked about. Mental health or cancer. I mean, all sorts of things that you could.
Yeah. There's some good ones out there. I guess Red Cross.
Red Cross.
Blue Cross. Is that something?
Blue Cross is insurance. I think. I don't think we need to give them any money. They got enough, probably.
Oh yeah, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Is that something?
Yeah.
Even though I drink
there we
and
go.
drive.
You don't drive in New York, do you? Take the subway.
I just got a car.
Really? What kind of car?
Yeah, 1973 BMW 02.
Is that? I don't know anything about cars. Is that good or like?
It's a classic. It's my dream car.
Really?
I finally bought it. Yeah.
Is it expensive or is it?
I got a great deal. I bought it online on an auction. At 4 a.m. I was up at 4 a.m. fighting with this guy, bidding war, and I got it.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. Congratulations on that. It's got to be hard to drive in New York, though, and park and all that. I mean, on Seinfeld, they're always like, it's always a big deal to park in the.
It's a nightmare. I got it in a garage right now, but it's a nightmare.
All right. Well, thank you so much for doing my show. I want to promote your own podcast, Tuesdays with Stories. Your YouTube special is called Out to Lunch. I watched it last night. It's hilarious, great stuff. Especially if they haven't seen any of your comedy, that is the go-to starter place. What else you got? You got any other specials coming up or anything?
Podcast called Tuesdays with Stories. There's a T-shirt. I'm wearing my own merch.
That's cool. I want that shirt. Can I order that online?
Thanks. What's that?
I can order that online?
I think so. Yeah, just give it a go.
It's like Tuesdays. The Ramones. That's the Ramones logo.
Yeah, some guy made it. It's pretty great. Joe
cool.
has our names on it. It has comedy and farts. Pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah. Go to my website. I have some merch and Tuesdays with Stories, Twitter, Instagram.
Your Instagram is great. I love the little short bits. Do you make those yourself, or do you have someone do that for you?
The videos I tell a guy like, hey, can you cut out this, 4 minutes and 20 seconds to 4 minutes and 38 seconds, and he cuts it and captions it, and I pay him.
Yeah, he puts the title on it. It's great. That's how I found you. So awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for doing this and slumming it with me. I really appreciate it. I'll never forget this.
Thank you, sir. Fun time. Good questions.
Thank you. That's very cool. Cool of you to say. Thank you so much for doing this, Mark.
Praise Allah. Right. Have a good night.
You're Kevin Hart, right?
You got that right.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.
So there you have it. I just got roasted by a professional comedian. I got to say, it was pretty fun. I recommend everybody go through that at least once. It's exhilarating, kind of like a roller coaster. You're scared at first, but when it's all over, you say, that was a lot of fun. So, and really, I think the whole interview was like that for me. I was nervous, obviously, to interview such a big name comedian, but he's such a cool guy. He's even, complimentary of me a few times, in addition to the roasting, of course, which is what I asked for. So definitely check out Mark's special on YouTube. It's called Out to Lunch. Follow him on social media. Check out his podcast, Tuesdays with Stories. Follow me to keep up with all these great interviews I'm doing, and make sure to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. Thank you to Mark. Thank you to all for listening. And remember, shoot for that moon.